Welcome to Real Estate Explained, the podcast that gives you a backstage pass to the ever-evolving world of real estate. I'm your host, Nick Bush, a realtor with over a decade of experience helping clients buy, sell, and invest with confidence. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just curious about the market, this show is for you. Each week, we'll dive into trending topics, break down the latest real estate news, and bring you expert interviews with the pros so you're prepared for every step of the journey. Ready to turn your real estate goals into reality? Keep watching. I want to go to Egypt because obviously the pyramids and stuff like if I can go back to any time in history, it'd be ancient Egypt.
Really?
Yeah, because they just dominated for they just dominated. Bro, they dominated.
I want to see how they made the pyramids.
They're still like, how did they make the pyramids? You know, but also like that was also the time of like the Old Testament, bro. She was like if you really think about it like that, like all that shit was like the Old Testament, bro. It's crazy. Yeah.
Dude, you hear all that like Joe Rogan, like you know how Joe Rogan's like super interested in like how the pyramids were built and stuff. It's like they be talking about all this technology that they had back in the ancient world, and it's like stuff that like machines nowadays just cannot do, but somehow they kind of like sorted it out and stuff. It blows my mind.
Because some of those rocks are from like 50 miles away.
Yeah.
My boy told me the same guy that went. He was like, because I have a friend. She's half Tunisian, half Egyptian. And she took her boyfriend to Egypt. He's black. They was just like rolling around, and she was like, "We're like, how was it?" She was like, "The whole time it's just like, no, I'm like, what's the Egyptian price?" For
Good. Yeah. That's smart.
Because my boy told me he said that he went on a camel. He's Spanish. He went on a camel, and he said once he got up on the camel, they were like, "Oh no, you got to pay to get down."
Yeah.
You had the price to get on and get up. Yeah, pay to get down. I was like, "Hey man,
that's how they'll get you, bro." Have you ever ridden a camel?
No,
it's terrifying.
I do not want to ride a camel. I'm glad you told me that, bro. And told me the truth because I do not want to do that.
No, it's actually terrifying because you know how like it's like a long neck and then you sit on the hump.
Yeah.
So the way that a camel gets up is first it leans super forward and then it leans super back and then it's up on all fours. Oh, okay. So like both forward and back, you're like, I'm gonna die. Like,
how tall is a camel standing
they're tall.
on?
They're I don't even know how to estimate it. Probably like 10 feet, 15 feet.
Yeah. Like a basketball.
Yeah.
Look
how close I can
look at Jamie. No, I'm just kidding.
Jamie, pull it up, Jamie.
Jamie's here.
Let's see.
Just about?
6 feet.
What?
I'm 6 feet, bro.
Between 6 and 7 feet.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe I won't be
Maybe
too
the last
scared.
time I rode it, I was like 7, so it felt like super tall.
All right, I guess we're gonna get to it. I didn't really know what we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about the market and all real estate things. I didn't have a lot planned. But before we get into it, thanks for
having me. This is fun. All these like little experiences that I'm having, like this job is fun, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun, bro. It's a lot of fun, and it makes like everything cooler because your mindset shifts when you're in real estate. And so I had Kareem on. And I was like, I can't leave Rami out. The Cornerstone team, you guys crush it.
Thank you.
But before we get started, introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
So I'm Rami. I'm part of the Cornerstone Realty Group team with EXP. We've been running it. We've been running Cornerstone for about 2 years and a half now, coming up on 3 years. Started off with my mother back in 2018. She kind of started off as a solo agent. Then Kareem, my older brother, joined on, and he kind of made it into a brand, the team, Cornerstone. That's where Cornerstone came from. And then I graduated college, came on. We're hiring more, so yeah, thank God we're growing.
What'd you study in school?
I didn't do real estate. I studied cognitive and behavioral neuroscience.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I mean I loved it. I loved every part of it, and I thought it was incredibly interesting.
Yeah.
And I was planning on going, like moving forward in like the cognitive therapy space, but life kind of shifted around and my priorities changed a little bit because I was going to go straight for the PhD, right? Like I was like looking into it, I was applying, but once I talked to some people and understood what actually goes into PhD, I decided to kind of put that on the, put that on hold until I'm a little bit more stable and you know what I mean? I'm probably going to do it in a different capacity now. Maybe not full PhD, but I'll probably do like some sort of like a master's or some sort of certification, volunteer, like help people out. Because that's still kind of like a passion of mine. I love just meeting someone when they're down and seeing if there's anything I can do to like help pick them up. That's always been a passion of mine. So yeah, that's kind of where
That's dope.
Yeah.
My wife has a PhD, and so she went to Mason. Well, she went to Villanova, and then she got her master's and her PhD at Mason.
What's it in?
Criminology, law, and society.
Cool.
And so she's in the crim field, kind of like I always say, like the reform space.
Yeah.
So obviously, like that's not that popular with the new administration right now, but she's in the reform space, and she like took her time. She's a procrastinator by nature. It took her like she took the whole 10 years.
Yeah.
She was like going slow, but also we had like life and kids.
Sure.
And I know when you're in the PhD program, you usually work kind of for the professor.
Yeah.
And you don't make that much money.
No.
And then, but she had like a quote unquote real job along the way.
Okay.
So it took her a little time, but yeah, she got hers. I think like 2023 maybe is when she finished.
That's good. Congratulations to her.
So
it's a big deal. Like it's a really big deal because like, I mean, you tell me your experience, right? But from the other people that I've been talking to, a PhD means like you need to be ready for the PhD to be your life. You know what I mean? Like not like be a part of your life. It's like it is your life.
I think that you can approach it that way, and I think probably like maybe that's what she should have done.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's if you're in that space academically, you just like you know how to study, you know how to learn, you know how to write. And so maybe it's different for each field, but that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So you were like, I'm gonna jump into real estate. I know Kareem has been like investing in real estate. That like, what motivated you to get into the real estate?
So I've been actually working with in the real estate space for about I want to say 4 years now or 4.5 years, except I was on the back end. I was a transaction coordinator for my mom.
Okay, for the team. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so I kind of learned the back end of the business, you know, the contracts, the addendums, all the emails that need to be sent out, all of, like the different points of contacts that you have in a transaction. I learned all of that in the back end working virtually with my mom. So when I came on, I was like, I already know the space. I like the space, and it's got a lot of like, it's very people oriented, right? And I'm a very people oriented person. So I was like, yeah, I'll give this a shot. And if it's not for me, like the plan was to just do it for about a year or so and then dive right into school, back into school. But I kind of fell in love with it. And
that's great. Yeah. So you got the contract, you got all that done beforehand. So you already. That's like the stuff that you have to learn once you become a real estate agent.
Exactly.
So you become a realtor, like I'm going to sell houses, and you get a contract. You're like, wait, how do I write a contract? Like, what's in the right? You have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I guess like explain to people, because you have a bunch of solo agents out here that are doing that by themselves, right? So what do you think the power of like your real estate agent not having to do like the back end paperwork? Like, what's the benefit to the client of that?
So. Me personally, whenever I get money, let's say, because my mom was paying me at the time, you know what I mean? Because I was helping her and it's family. And there's always this kind of like lingering thought in the back of your mind. It's like, am I actually bringing value, or is she just paying me because I'm her son and she loves me? You know what I mean? And I always thought, you know, she's cutting me a break. And honestly, I need it at this point. And then when I actually stepped into the field and I realized what it meant to do showings, meet clients, do like consultations and stuff, and then on the back end not have to worry about paperwork, I'm like, oh, shoot. There's so much value there. It's crazy. Like our transaction coordinator is like our cornerstone. You know what I mean? Like he is so important to the team. It's crazy. Like he is so important to the team. It's lots and lots of value. Not to have to worry about like some paperwork, some small stuff on the side. It like opens up your capacity to be able to do more.
Do you feel like that you're a better realtor for your clients because of the
for sure,
because you don't have to deal with that?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, because of the speed of things, you know what I mean? If every single one of my clients has to wait for me to get home to write up the contract, and then, you know, there's life stuff in there too. You know, I need to have dinner. I need to like take a break. I need to like chill out and talk to my friends or my brothers or my family, whatever it is. If they have to wait on all of that, either I'm going to get super burnt out and not do my job well, or they're just going to have to wait on my schedule, right?
Yeah.
But with the transaction coordinator, they don't have to wait. You know, they don't necessarily have to wait. They just kind of like, I'll put in, like, let's say their request with our transaction coordinator, and he'll work on that so they get the speed and I'm not burning out.
I feel like, because I have a transaction coordinator also who's like the most important person in the business, and right at this point, and I feel like I do more business because I have a transaction coordinator. Now I can't connect those two in any way, but I'm just like, I think I have more capacity to like go and find deals, and I'm trying to get to the point where I'm only doing the real estate portion, like negotiating, talking to the client, making sure everything is smooth. And I think it just makes you a better agent because you can think about what you're supposed to think about and not like, did I get that last signature
Yeah.
or did I communicate with the title
Right.
company this day? Like you just kind of it's on
Right.
it's on autopilot.
And it just kind of makes sense. The more workload that you take on, the more things that you're thinking about simultaneously, the more likely you are to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you make mistakes for your clients, like that's a big deal in the real estate world,
Yeah.
right? So I absolutely agree with you that it does open up some capacity for you to actually be doing your job well, go look for more deals, help out your clients better, because you're not worried about those little like, oh, did I tick off that check mark? You know what I mean? Like that's the difference between, let's say, like your client getting a home warranty paid for by the seller or not. You know what I mean? If you didn't check off the right box, you know what I mean? Like small stuff like that add up over time, and especially can help your client out a lot if you're not the one making mistakes on it.
Yeah, and I feel like as real estate agents, we've kind of, I think that obviously what is it, 80% of agents do 20% of the business, or 90-10, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the 20% have really impacted us. I guess what, like how people, I guess like feel about real estate agents in the world. And I think that we should be compared more to like lawyers and doctors, certified financial planners. Because I mean, in this area, just think we're helping somebody broker a $700,000
Right.
deal on average, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot that goes into it. And I think that the reason I say that is because I think that like lawyers, they have the paralegal
Yes,
doing that
exactly,
stuff, and they're like,
exactly.
I'm in court to like litigate or be the expert. And I think it's great when I think that realtors should be doing that also.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I think that's dope. So what are you guys seeing in the market right now? Like what's happening? Well, actually, I have a different question for you.
Yeah.
So 24. What's your business? Are you sphere-based business? Are you calling expireds? Are you doing open houses? Like, how are you getting deals?
So my biggest two are Sphere and open houses for sure.
Okay.
And we also do a lot of like community. Actually, social media has kind of been really good. Not in the sense, I was just talking to one of my buddies last night. We just went out for dinner. What's the point of a social media post as like a real estate agent? You know what I mean? It's never to be like, oh, here's a house, and then someone swipes up and be like, I want that house. You know what I mean? It's not like that, because you're not like really selling a product. It's to be top of mind when it comes time for the person who
Totally
is,
agree.
buying or selling, to be like, okay, well, I'm kind of venturing into the real estate space right now. I don't know much about it, but I do know this one guy called Rami who I see on my social media page all the time. And he's kind of like, he's working, he's getting busy, he's closing deals, getting a lot of experience, but also like he's this like fun dude, it's like kind of lighthearted. It makes a realtor more accessible.
Yeah.
So social media has kind of been a really big part for me. Now, like whether people like or comment or swipe up or whatever it is, I go to different random places and they're like, oh, like we love what you're doing on socials. Keep those coming. Like those are a lot of fun and stuff. So social has been a lot of it's been a big help for me and my business. But Sphere and open houses, those have been the biggest one.
So at 24, let's assume your sphere is all in the 3 to 5 range, age range, like 21 to 27 maybe.
Sure.
How are you getting those like younger people motivated to buy homes?
I think stories go a long way.
Okay.
Right? I think experiences from other people go a very, very long way. So, you can kind of give someone like the data and give them all the numbers and explain all that kind of stuff to them. But once they hear like someone that is in your shoes just did it and they did it successfully, it's more likely to be like, oh wait, like they are in my shoes and they're no different than I am, right? So it's like, how can I get on that same boat? Maybe I just don't know something. Maybe I need to like look deeper into something. And that's kind of been the best what can I say, motivator for people my age. They're just like, oh, like I don't need 20%. Like I don't have to have like, my whole life,
Figure it
15
out.
years of like work experience and all that kind of stuff. Like I can get things done while I'm still kind of like in my 20s and stuff. So once you open up that mentality, once you open up like that pathway for a lot of people to home ownership, they realize it's more manageable and more digestible, I guess, for them.
Yeah.
And they just kind of realize the thing about the thing I love about real estate is that like it sells itself. I'm not selling no subscription. I'm not selling a product. I'm not selling like everybody needs housing and everybody wants to be part of the housing market, right? It's just a matter of when are you ready.
Do you feel like people? So I got into the business when I was 25, maybe full time at 26. I got licensed in January, and then I didn't really start like getting moving until June. And I remember calling some of my first, friends, family, right? Mostly friends. and being like, hey, you should buy a house. And they were like, I don't have 800 credit score. A lot of those, you're in your first career, right? So you're making 50, 60,
Sure.
right? Like I can't call them in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So the foundation of my business is built on home buying seminars, right?
Oh, okay.
But also, I feel like part of, and the thing is, like, your real estate agent can't sell you a house,
No.
right? But I also had to sell people on the idea of home ownership. And I think because, I have my sphere is like kind of all, I have people that like come from home ownership, and then I have a lot of generational renters in my sphere. But I come from a renter family, so maybe like the most of my sphere was generational renters.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of sell them on the idea of buying a home, right?
Yeah.
And we were 25, 26, so that also made sense. Do you feel like that's something that you have to do also? Like, what is the average, 24, 25-year-old think about home ownership? Like, is it something they should do, not do?
So it really depends on the type of person that you're talking to. You know what I mean? And like exactly what you said, I totally agree with you. I don't think that like real estate agents should be selling someone a house, unless obviously you're like the listing agent,
Yeah.
But when it comes to like talking to home buyers that are like in my age, I just don't think that we should be selling people a house. You know what I mean? It's like that type of push on people turns a lot of people off, right? So it's just kind of like the sentiment, right, is like, I don't really want to be like locked down to a place, let's say, or like I'm just not ready to make that type of commitment, And I never like push back on that, because it's like that's kind of like a lifestyle decision. You know what I mean?
True.
It's like, yeah, great, awesome, right? But as soon as you're done like wasting your money and paying other people's mortgage off, let me know, It's like that's and then obviously when they see like what you're doing as well, people just kind of like get curious.
So tell people, when someone says that to you, like, what do you want? Like, what message would you deliver to somebody who's like, I don't really want to be locked down or bogged? Like, what's like the right thing for, how should they be thinking about that instead?
I'd say, yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. I get you. Sometimes home ownership could kind of tie you down a little bit more than renting could, I'm not like renting is the devil type of guy at all. I think I have like a couple of videos out there that's like, I'm just not that guy, I believe that renting has its time and place, but I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. But that's just not necessarily the case. People are like, I don't want to be locked down to this house for 30 years. It's like, oh, there's this thing called selling the house.
Or renting it out.
Right, there's this thing called moving out of the house and not being tied down to it. And it's like the more that you wait, it's like what Warren Buffett said, right? It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you want to keep renting and paying someone else off. It's like some people want the experience. Like Arlington is a big one.
Yeah.
Right? Arlington is a really, really big one. When someone says, I just want to be renting in Arlington for some time, I want to get the experience of being in that city and being in a walkable area. Like, honestly, why would I push back against that? That totally makes sense to me. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you want to be around recent grads, somewhere between like, 3 to 5 years out of college or something like that. There are people that are past that, obviously. But when you tell me, like, I just want to be in the Arlington area, yeah, great, that makes sense, right? Yeah. But if you're, like, renting somewhere else and, like, you've come to a point where you're renting for, like, 5, 6, 7 years, the numbers just kind of speak for themselves. You know what I mean? It's like, you're just missing out on a lot.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, okay, you want to go to Clarendon and like black out on the weekends. Go live your life and like walk back to your apartment. Like, go live
like
your life.
Uber is going to be cheaper than your rent.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like, just dude, like go buy a house and then just Uber to freaking Clarendon.
I think it's interesting because when I first got into real estate, I had to, kind of consider all of these things and consider how I would like have these conversations and approach people when they kind of had these objections and they were like, oh, I'm bogged down. Yeah. And I'm like, actually, you're more flexible when you own your home versus when you rent. I'm like, because if you rent, you're in that lease for, let's say, 12 months.
Sure.
If you want to move or break that lease, you have to pay, like, if you can break that lease, most likely you have to pay 2 months rent, right? You won't just, most apartment communities are not letting you just, like, sublease and get out of it. And then I'm like, if you don't pay your rent, by the 5th, they're sending you, like, eviction notice, and then maybe in 30 days you have to get out, right? But I'm like, and then your rent's going to go up next year and then the following year, and you'll have to do that.
You're just very at the mercy of the landlord.
You're very at the mercy of the landlord. But when you buy, you have so much flexibility. Like, you can buy. I had someone who bought a house in Deanwood, and she was like, I don't like the neighborhood anymore, so I rented it out, right? Also, you have a 15-day grace period to pay your mortgage instead of the 5-day grace period, which is like beneficial.
Yeah.
If you lose your job, like many people kind of are doing, like many people lose their job in general, or a life change happens. Yeah. You can sell, and if you have equity, right, you're good. Yeah. Or you could just say like, you know what, like I'm gonna rent this out. I always tell people, I'm like, if you lost your job and you couldn't afford your mortgage, but you have family, you can your mortgage is not a problem because you can rent it out, and then if you have to couch surf until you get back on your feet, someone's paying your mortgage, and then you can move back in. Right. So I feel like owning your home gives you so much more flexible than renting. And then the other big objection for renters is like, oh, I don't want to deal with like the maintenance, right? And I own a single family home, and there's maintenance, right? But I always tell people, I'm like, what do you think? Like, I'm like, when is the last time your fridge just didn't work or your stove just didn't work? Like, these things don't even happen. So
yeah, that's true. And we kind of lean on like home warranties and home insurance as well, because the money aspect of maintenance is a big one that gets people all the time. And we've had some real examples, of like, I have a rental property in Lynchburg, right? Yeah. And the fridge, let's say, will like break down. Yeah. I just pay the $75, and then like they'll cut me a check. They just did this. They cut me a check for $700 to go get a new one. You know what I mean? It's like, so, you know what I mean? You set yourself up well, right? And then you can mitigate all these things. Now, that's not to say like you don't have to deal with any maintenance whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like there's some stuff that's gonna have to come out of your pocket just naturally, right? But if you set yourself up well, all of those issues, all those objections are like properly mitigated. You can actually get away with not too bad of an experience of owning a home, actually a beautiful experience of owning a home, I like that flexibility piece that you were talking about. You're absolutely right, because a couple of the clients that I have under contract right now, they're like, I'm just done with landlords saying, like, no fault to the landlord, saying I want to move back into the property, or I want to sell the property or something like that. And now I have to move. Like I wasn't planning on moving. That's not in my plans right now at all. I'm busy. I've got like kids. My kids are in school, and now I have to move within like 30 to 60 days or something like that. It's like that wasn't why. Plan, if I can cut out that unexpected part of life, you know what I mean? That like some random landlord is going to be like, sorry, I want the house. You're going to have to move where you live. A lot of people are starting to move that direction.
That's interesting, because we have an investment property in DC, and we have a tenant in there. She signed a 6-month lease at first, right? Yeah. Because she only wanted to sign it. She's like, let me just sign a 6-month lease. We're like, all right, we need this thing rented. Go ahead. And then when she wanted to renew her lease. And at first I was like, let's renew her for a year. This was in April, I guess. She just renewed. I was like, let's renew her for a year so we have peace of mind. We know the mortgage is getting paid. Yeah. We don't have to find a tenant in the wintertime. We'll be okay. And then I said to myself, because this house, like, we want to sell it eventually, right? It's like it'll appreciate, but I just want to pull the cash out to invest in something else. We'll like net like $100,000. So I'm like, I could take this $100,000 and buy a few properties and have better cash flow. And then I'm out of DC, where the tenant laws are less friendly than a place like Virginia or Ohio, or Tennessee. And I remember when she was renewing her lease. At first, I was like, let's do a year lease. And then I told my wife, I was like, let's do a 6-month lease because I want the flexibility to be able to put this on the market. If rates drop or if I feel like the market is busy. And I'm just thinking from like a tenant standpoint, I mean, you can't even get comfortable if you know that in 6 months I might have to move out, right? And so I never thought about it like that. The property in Lynchburg, do you guys self-manage that, or do you have property managers?
Yeah, no, I self-manage it. We have our contractors out there who are just a ton of help, but we self-manage. They just text me if they have any problems.
So why go self-manage versus property manager?
I just kind of felt like I have a grip on all the maintenance that needs to be done. I have all the contacts and all the names, and I can keep it under control. So if I can save that like 8 to 10% that property managers charge, I'm benefiting, And I have this joint with my dad, so this is like a joint investment, him and I. Yeah. So
do you feel like, so what's the plan from like an investment standpoint? I mean, because you're obviously a real estate agent, you have real estate investments at 24, which is, Bronson, do you own any houses yet, bro? Oh, you do? How many houses do you own?
Legally one, but technically two.
Okay. Yeah, every day I ask Bronson this because I'm always like, Bronson, you need to buy a house.
You need to buy something.
But I've never asked him like if he owns his house. I just like him assuming like, well, really what I want Bronson to do is buy like 10 houses. This is like what I'm always pitching to Bronson.
He'll get there. He's around too many real estate agents not to get there.
Right? I've never been like, wait, do you own?
You know?
So are you planning to scale up the portfolio, or
Yeah,
what do you
for
guys?
sure.
So what's your like? I mean, obviously, don't give me your life plan.
Sure.
But like, what do you think? Like in the next like 5 years, like what do you want that to look like?
The plan is 10 by 30. I want to have 10 properties
Boom,
by the...
Bronson 10. I always say 10. Can you talk to this guy? Get with this guy.
Bronson, you want to hop in here, bro?
10 houses by 30.
10 by 30. I want 10 properties by the time I'm 30 years old.
Okay.
And I'm working on it. Actually, I just recently, I just bought my personal house
Congrats,
2
bro.
weeks ago. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
congrats.
it's a nice little place in Centerville.
Okay.
It's a nice
Centerville.
little spot.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a nice little... Hey, are you guys familiar with like the... I'm sure you know Sully Station 2?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right there off of Stone Path.
That's gonna appreciate so much, dude.
I bought it at 620
Okay.
with 6K back. So,
6K back, and
yeah.
in that neighborhood, like it only appreciates.
Yeah.
Because that like Centerville area, those townhouses right there, they're just like the perfect first time home buyer cribs, and so they just like turn over a lot,
yeah.
but not turn over because people want to leave, but they turn over because
They're first
somebody
time.
had a kid or had two kids, right? So congratulations,
Thank
bro.
you, I
That's gonna be
appreciate
worth 720 in 2 years.
I'm hoping. I'm super excited about this house. It was a blessing from God, to be honest.
Yeah.
This was a crazy. I was looking at another property in Centerville, right? And it was kind of like an open door property. So I kind of, and like it was sitting on the market and I thought it was overvalued. So I kind of went in with like a super aggressive offer. You know what I mean? Like, I think I offered them like 35K below what they wanted and I asked for 5% back. You know what I mean? Like,
wow.
just like an offensive
Yeah.
offer, you know?
Yeah.
And they were kind of giving me a hard time, rightfully so.
Yeah, right.
So I had an inspection in Ashburn.
Okay.
So I was like talking to my mom and said, hey, can you just like run the comps on this really quick? I just want to make sure that like because we were going to escalate to kind of what they wanted almost at 600. So I was like, can you just make sure that it's like worth 600 and like all that kind of stuff. So she's doing the comps and then she like texts me a property and then calls me. So I'm like, hey mom, I'm at the inspection. And she's like, she calls me again. I was like, all right, double call.
I need that. Let me pick
that's
up.
something. So pick up, hey, she's like, hey, we need to go check out this property. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, send it to me. And she was like, no. Like, we need to go check it out. I was like, okay, mom, easy. Like, I'm at this inspection. She's like, it's awesome. I already booked it. We're going to go. Like, meet me there at 6 p.m.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, is it nice? She was like, we have to go. We get there. She walks in. She goes, Rami, this is yours. I was like, all right, mom, cool it. You know what I mean? Like, easy. Let's go through. Like, we'll see the property. And because I was looking at this other property, you know? And I was like, let's go see it. And she's like, no. Like, this one's yours. We walk in. Honestly,
Perfect.
she was right.
Shouts
She's
to
right.
Mom Dukes.
Funny thing is, that property was already under contract, right? It's been under contract, and 30 minutes after it came back to the market, my mom saw it and booked it.
Wow.
And we went under contract like either that day or the next day, I can't remember. But like it came back to the market. Like I believe that it came back to the market just for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I truly believe that. Such a blessing. It's just wonderful.
That just lets you know. So that story's even better for me to hear because I know your mom. Like I've met her,
Yeah.
and so I know what she sounds like in the passion that she speaks with.
The short
Rami,
little lady.
this is yours,
like,
right?
We gotta get it, you know?
Yeah,
You know?
but like, dang, what was I gonna say? But that just lets you know like how like your mom even doing that, right? Like running the comps. Is like I think something every realtor is like, hey, like can you just double check that I'm not tripping? Yeah. But then to like see a property, book it, and like know for her client at the time that this is the one, and so like that's who like Rami is learning from everybody. So just to let you know. But so when you get to 10, like are you still gonna self manage? Are you gonna property manage?
No. At that point, once I get to 10, once I scale, I'm very much a person that sees the value in delegating things off to the professionals and buying back my time. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm very on board with that. I don't mind paying someone who will actually produce good work and like help me make more money.
So you feel like scaling, like as you scale, property management is better than self-managing?
Absolutely,
for
sure.
Do you feel like that's like a number of homes or like when you feel like hassled?
You know, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm honestly still trying to figure it out. But I believe it is... It's a tough question because I believe they kind of correlate, right? Number of houses and hassle kind of go hand in hand because the hassle from one house is manageable. 2 houses, sure, fine. 3, maybe you can push that, you know? Once you get to like 4, 5, 6, 7 houses, you know what I mean? They might be small problems at each house, but they're 5 small problems at a time. You know what I mean? Which then if you don't address a small problem, it becomes a big problem. And if 2 of them become big problems, because if you solved only like, let's say 3 of the others small problems, now you have 2 big problems, you know what I mean? And then it just starts to compound. And I just don't think that that's the smart way to do things.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe, let me just pay someone whose full-time job it is to take care of my property and do it well. You know what I mean? And I'll pay people no problem. Like I have no problem sharing a part of the pie if it helps us expand the pie. You know what I mean?
So if I could go back in time to when I first got into real estate, and I have a few clients that are doing this.
Yeah.
I would be pitching to everyone, hey, you need to get 10 houses and buy 30 also. And I would just explain to them, and it's a little different because rates are higher. When I got into business, rates were 3%. So it was truly cheaper to own than it was to rent a home. But I would just give them the breakdown, like, hey, you can do this every year with 3 or 5% down and like be chilling and build a small portfolio. Yeah. So how are you approaching the real estate investment? How are you approaching real estate investing?
Obviously, it's more expensive to buy than 3% right now. And what I'm like starting to realize, and this isn't profound or anything like that, it's just the first few houses are harder than the next few houses, right? It's like getting into it is harder than building.
True.
Right? Again,
I understand.
I say everything that I say, like I really want to come from this point of humility of everything that I say is subject to change just because I'm learning. You know
That's
what I mean?
called
like,
intelligence.
Yeah, like everything that I say, everything that I'm learning, because like if you were to ask me, like we bought this property, my dad and I in 2022. Okay, if you were to ask me like how are you going to scale up your portfolio? I'm going to be like every year, one more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's just not the case. It's better to like slow roll. It's better to understand what you're doing. It's better to understand like what does a good tenant look like? Why do you want a good tenant? You know what I mean? And it's like even if it costs you some, like there are some situations that like, like being nice to this tenant's gonna come out of my pocket, right? Yeah. And it's like I have no problem with that because what I've seen, especially because we have like a little group, and I believe that like you're the average of the 5 people, 5 closest people to you, right? So I'm very, very blessed to be a part of like a very ambitious group, like a group that's like Kareem, you know what I mean? Like the guy does not stop, and that's my older brother, you know what I mean? Like doesn't get any closer to that. But we also have like a good group of friends with good heads on their shoulders, and collectively we have. A good amount of properties like in the Lynchburg area. And I've seen that the nice thing about that is that I've seen and I have experiences that aren't mine. You know what I mean? Like I'm getting experiences that I didn't have to go through. They're secondhand experiences, but I'm hearing these stories from the people that are closest to me. And I've seen what it's like to have a bad tenant. And that is just, when people say that I hate the real estate market, I'm like, you probably had a bad tenant. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't blame you for having that opinion because it's really quite bad. So ways to mitigate that as well. You know what I mean? Like how do you vet a tenant properly? How do you make sure to keep them happy even if it's going to come out of your pocket? Because quite frankly, the return on investment of keeping a tenant happy is way higher than the like couple $100 that you might be making more per month. Yeah. That's just the way that it is. I can't remember who this YouTuber is, but he's like kind of like short hair. He's a young guy. Is it? I think it is Graham. Yeah, the white dude. Yes. He like has this whole thing of like is it him or Kevin O'Leary? I can't even remember. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. But basically, the point that they're saying is like I just don't raise the rent on my tenants.
Yeah, I think that's Graham.
Yeah, I think it is Graham, right? He's like I just don't raise the rent on my tenants.
And Kevin O'Leary told him he was crazy, right?
Yeah. Okay, that's where the connection happened. Mm-hmm. He just said the value of having these great tenants in my house, keeping them happy and not raising the rent on them is saving me so much money and so much headache that like that's just the way that I want to go. And I'm like, I get that. You know what I mean? Like would I fully go in that route, like not raising the rent at all? It's like no, because the numbers need to make sense for me as well. So fair enough, there's some sort of balance there, but I like the mindset. I like the mindset of like, no, it's not all about the numbers for me. Sometimes the mental peace of mind that I might have from having a good tenant in my property is worth way more than like the 3% to 5% of year-to-year increase every year.
No, this is a conversation my wife and I have all the time. More so, I'm having the conversation with her because we cash flow like a little bit from our mortgage, from our renter. But I think that we could be charging like at least 300 more, but maybe up to 500. Sure. This property manager did this like rental analysis for me, but I was like, he was like, and it looked like we could be profiting like 1,200 more, but I was like, I don't know about these comps, but definitely like 300 to 500. And I'm always like, yo, like we need to raise the rent. This happens like every 2 weeks, or maybe like every month. I'm like, we need to raise the rent. And she's like,
every time like y'all go shopping or something like that, we need to raise the rent.
I'm like, at the end of the lease, we're raising the rent. And she's like, but what if she doesn't want to pay the rent? I'm like, well, then we'll get a new tenant. She's like, well, how long is that going to take? Are we going to have to pay the mortgage in the meantime?
Yeah, right.
What if the next tenant doesn't pay the rent? And then so then you have to make that decision. You're like, okay, do we raise it? How aggressively do you raise it? At the end of the day, we are cash flowing a bit, and we're getting like equity from this property. And so there's a balance. There's like a game you have to play where you're just like, okay, I have a really great tenant. What's the value of not having this tenant anymore and having to go find someone else that's like more unpredictable, and will the market even respect this increase?
And I think the whole mortgage argument is a really good one, right? Because like, okay, what are you expecting to get from raising the rent? Let's say $100 a month. Right?
Yeah.
$200 a month. That's $2,400 a year, right? Is your mortgage more than $2,400 a year? You know what I mean? It's like, are you losing that money? Are you losing that money on the front end just because you want to like raise the rent?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, again, like I said, everything is tenable. Everything is subject to change. But for me, getting someone in there early who I can trust to pay the rent is worth more than the small increase.
Yeah.
Like in Lynchburg, for example, the tenants that I have in there right now, they're wonderful tenants. They're just grad students, and they're very much like a to themselves type of people. And I've been enjoying dealing with them. Are there issues? Are there problems? Do they hit me up a lot? Yeah, sure, but that's just the normal part of it, right? They wanted to take it like in June, but I said I want to get it rented out in April. Right, so there's a big difference there, right? About 2 months of mortgage that I would have had to pay, and I was going to charge them, I think, like $150 more plus a $50 per month pet deposit. So it was about to be like about $200 a month. And they said, well, if you want us to start in April, like we'll do this. And we cut a deal where I actually like decreased the rent by about $100 a month, and very happy with my decision. Very happy with my decision, because they're great tenants. They take good care of the property. They're very communicative, and I didn't have to pay the mortgage for April, May, and June.
Yeah, so you got in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you about it. It's interesting to know that you're a cognitive behavioral neuroscience, right? Because this story deserves to be on the podcast. So, Ron, who was the woman that you were with for the open house in Springfield? Who was the other team member?
Oh, Marianne. Yeah, Marianne.
Okay, so I had this. This is crazy, right? So I had this client. I meant to tell the story at the beginning of the pod. So this is like when I knew Rami was like solid. I was like, oh, he's crushing in real estate. He's gonna make it, right? Not that I didn't think you were before, but I was like, oh yeah, he's one of the ones that. So I had this client. This whole transaction was crazy, by the way, like the whole time.
I can imagine.
Right. Just to give you an idea, like she was gonna sell her house like 3 months before that, and we like agreed. And then I ordered the sign, bro. She took my sign out the ground and was like, I didn't agree to this. I didn't agree. She was like, I didn't agree to this. So, anyways, scheduled this open house. I think the house was like listed like probably like $75,000 under market value, maybe $100,000. It needed a lot of work, so I strategically listed it that way to get the price up. I think the comps were $625. We listed at $500, $499,
somewhere there,
so people can bid up. I felt like it was probably like great for like a not an investor, like owner occupied. Like we'll do the work. It was livable.
Yeah.
So we get the open house. Rami's like, yo, I'm like, yo, can you do the open house? He hits me up, or I don't know, but you scheduled the open house. What was it? It was like evening. It was like an evening open house, right?
I think it was at 5 or 6 or something like that.
5 or 6. So I know that I have to manage my client.
Yeah.
So I go to the house, and I'm like, hey, open house, we're still good. Bro, like 30 minutes before the open house, I'm there. I'm there an hour before. She's like, I need to go get food. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm going to eat. Open house off. And I'm like, no. The open house cannot be off. Like, we scheduled this. People are coming. You see those people? They're starting to show up. And I'm like, if you want to go eat, at least give me the key so that I can, have this open house happen. And she's like, nope. And she rolls out on me. I think like 15 minutes you show up. I'm not like a panic guy, but I'm in full panic mode because I know how crazy the open house is going to be. And I almost canceled it, bro. And I think I even had to drive to figure out where she went.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like, Rami, just cancel it, bro. Like, it's over. And you were like, let's just wait, bro.
Easy.
She's going to come back. Like, just chill. You said she's going to come back. She said she's going to come back. Let's come back. And I was like, oh, Rami is the GOAT forever.
Oh, man. That was a fun experience, huh?
That was a crazy experience. Crazy. And then you feel bad in a situation like that because you invited somebody to do an open house, and if it's not going to happen, it's like you wasted your time too. And I was like, I hope you get a client from this because you deserve it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a zoo of an open house, dude. There's so many people. Remember, was it like 25 to 30 parties in one day? Like that's just that one that I hosted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't think that things are as big of a deal as people make them out to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I believe in the goodness of people. So it's like, if we have to tell someone, hey, listen, there's a situation happening. We're trying to reach to the seller and trying to get them back. Just work with us for a second. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
We'll get you in there as soon as possible. Promise you that. But just work with us.
You managed that beautifully, bro.
Someone was like, they were, and like nobody was like, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? No. It's like everyone was like, oh, sounds
We'll
good.
wait a
Thanks for
little
letting
bit.
us know.
Yeah.
I think people just want like solid communication rather than excellence, or sorry, not excellence, right? Perfection is what I
Yeah.
meant to say. Because excellence is required. That's for sure. You know what I mean? But perfection is one of those things that we try to strive for, and it's like if you just get bogged down with the idea of perfection, you actually start to let go of excellence because you could never be enough. So then you just keep on telling yourself, okay, well that wasn't perfect, so it wasn't good enough, which means I'm discouraged now. You know what I mean? So when I'm discouraged, I'm more likely to like lose energy. So when I lose energy, now the quality of my production starts to decrease. Well, because it wasn't perfect. Well, I guess this isn't even worth it for me. I'm out.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think if you strive for excellence, then every mistake along the way is just a stepping stone towards excellence, because you realize that wasn't excellent. So that's not a stepping stone that I'm going to put on my path. You know what I mean? So then moving forward, I made this mistake, and I've made a ton of mistakes. Obviously, like this isn't rocket science. This isn't like some super profound thing of like, oh, I made mistakes early on in my career. Everyone makes mistakes. That's normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just how you react to those mistakes that I believe then sets the path for excellence.
What's great about this business, and I think owning your own business, is you get to be around people that have mindsets like that. Like I know Bronson would agree with that. And like I couldn't think, if I'm at an office job, like what am I like? What's the conversation all day? Like are we talking about the game? You know, it's like everyone's like talking. Like sometimes I'm in conversations with people. I'm saying like I'm gonna get 10. Like to say to a regular person, like I'm gonna have 10 properties by 30 at 24. They're looking at you like what?
Yeah.
But like I tell people, I'm gonna get the Porsche and I'm gonna invest in Ohio, and I'm just saying it like very matter of factly. Like I know it's gonna happen. Like this is the goal, and like I'm gonna hit it because like why wouldn't I hit it? Right?
Yeah.
And I sometimes feel like I'm being disrespectful to people. Like I'm like,
really?
That probably sounds like crazy to them. Like almost like arrogant.
That's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about why you believe it's disrespect.
Well, because for example, one time I was having this conversation, like my wife's my goal, like my initial goal is to get to 20K net cash flow, right? Okay. And our plan is to so I'm interested in Ohio and now like Johnson City, Tennessee area to invest. And we're gonna do DSCR. All those properties are $100,000 or less, so we're really gonna need like $8,000 to $15,000 per property, right? Maybe like 12 is a sweet spot. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like I can put 10, 12,000 together, pretty quickly, right? Like I'm doing deals. And so first saying that to somebody is crazy. Like, oh yeah, I can kind of like get 12,000 when I need to. I do a couple deals, I have it, right? My wife does well too. So that's like the first time. And then like I remember, my wife's cousin was like, I was like, oh yeah, in 5 years I have a 5-year plan. She's like, well, what is your 5-year plan? And I was like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna I want to get to 20K net cash flow. And my wife's from New Hampshire. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Ohio, the Akron area, and I'm just breaking down how in 5 years I'm gonna have 20,000 net cash flow. And I was like, and then I'll probably be able to do what I want. Like, and as I'm saying this, I'm like, I probably sound insane. I'm like, I probably sound insane because most people are like, hey, did you see like the game last night? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get 20K. I'm about a Porsche, and I'm like, yeah, the Porsche. He's like, wait, with the Porsche. I test drove the Porsche. It's like 200,000, and like the payment's 2,000, but I need to get 20K so then I can have 10% in it. And I'm just like breaking down this equation. And I'm telling somebody like, I'm gonna have a $2,000 car, and the way I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna get to 20K net cash flow, and I'm gonna do that in a state I've never even been to because of the market. And I just sometimes feel like when I'm saying that to somebody that doesn't have their business, that like I'm almost sounding like a crazy person. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful that
I guess that makes sense, and I'm kind of in the same position that you are as well because thank God I'm starting to become in a position where I can make these moves. You know what I mean? Like buying my house is such a blessing from the Lord, and I believe that. You know what I mean? But I believe the way that like we talk about it to someone, I believe in kind of holding my cards a bit closer to my chest when it comes to like my personal stuff. You know what I mean? Like people like didn't know I was buying a house until Kareem posted something on Instagram congratulating me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very much like that type of person when it comes to my personal stuff, which is, it's not to say that I'm gatekeeping. And if someone asks, I'm more than willing to like go into how I did it and how I'm doing it or how I plan on doing it. But if no one asks, then for me, there's just no reason
That's what I'm telling everybody, bro.
to say, you know?
I'm telling everybody. I'm screaming it out because that's just like how I'm wired and motivated.
Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe there's anything wrong with that. And like I've realized as well, because when you're in your, like, let's say 18, 19, 20, and then you're going into like your 21, 22, 23, you kind of like are how do I say this? You're stuck in this limbo between how much small talk and how much real talk, how much mature talk and how much stupid talk. Yeah. So you kind of swing like a pendulum, right? Because at first it's all stupid talk, you know what I mean? It's like all just dumb stuff, and like you're kind of enjoying it with your boys, and then you kind of swing to the other side of the pendulum. It's like, I want to talk about real life things all the time, and we have to be deep, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, then you kind of swing, like when you settle, you're kind of like, there's a time for this and a time for that. Right? Like in Ecclesiastes, it says like there's a time for this, there's a time for that, there's a time for this, time for that.
Yeah. So what are you telling your clients about the real estate market? Like, what are you telling your buyers? Like, what do buyers need to know right now? What do sellers need to know right now?
So this kind of goes into my real estate take that you asked me to prepare, right?
Okay.
So,
well, I don't want you to give away your real estate take.
No, not yet.
Don't give away your real estate take.
Well, then, what am I telling to my buyers right now? It's like people are still buying. People are still buying. People are still buying out in the market. There are still a lot of properties that are being sold and bought by so many families and stuff. And the real estate market in the Washington DMV area is, if not one of the strongest and most stable markets in the entire country, right? Like 3 out of the 5 richest counties in all of America are all here in the Northern Virginia area. You know what I mean? I think the poll said it was Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and Falls Church County, which I'm not sure. Like,
it's Falls Church City.
Falls Church City, right?
Yeah, that little small.
Yeah. I think just because it's like a big reporting, they just kind of put Falls Church County.
No, they're getting money. They're getting money. Oh, they put
Yeah, Falls Church County. Which I was like, I didn't hear of Falls Church.
Yeah.
But whatever, like that area, you know. And then the other two are in California. The reason why it's so stable here in the Northern Virginia market is because there's just too much that the market stands on for any one thing to leave and collapse the market.
What do you mean by that?
You'd have to so Blacksburg is where I went to college. I'm Hokie. I went to Virginia Tech, right? If Virginia Tech, for some odd, random reason, decides, you know what, we want to uproot and move to Ohio, like you were talking about. The real estate there is great. It's huge, and we can really build a huge, beautiful campus there. We're slowly going to move out of Blacksburg, right? The Blacksburg townhouses that are being sold for 500 and 600 are going to be worth less than like 200. You know what I mean? Or like something like that. It's really going to plummet because the entire value of all those properties are held up by the fact that Virginia Tech is there. Yeah. Right? Here, what's the one company here that you can name that if they decide to go to San Francisco, they decide to go to Texas, or even across the ocean to England or something, right? The entire market's going to crash.
Yeah, I think that there's not, because when you think about it, I was actually having this conversation with my cousin the other day, like, you know, we rely on the federal government, but we also have EY and Booz Allen,
Deloitte,
and Raytheon, and Deloitte, and
Lockheed Martin, and Amazon's starting to build here, and Google's starting to build here, and Reston is a huge, huge market for all these corporate companies. You know? So it's like, what company are we relying on? Yeah, that's true. You can't name one. That makes sense. So which then makes for a stable market. Does it go up and down? Does it fluctuate? Yeah, absolutely, like any other market does, right? But we're not worried about, like, you know, Twitter, for example, deciding we don't want to be in San Francisco anymore. We'd like to go to Austin or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, we're not worried about any one company deciding one random year, we're done with this place, you know? And so we're leaving. And I honestly, I love Virginia, dude. Like, I'm a big Virginia, especially Northern Virginia. I'm a big, like, advocate for Virginia because I'm in California pretty often, and I like sell Virginia to Californians, and the reaction's always the same. It's like, this is weird. People will come from their states and be like, oh, we want to move to California. We love California. And California is amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have like, it's amazing. Just the views, the weather, the
great.
people there. Like, it's
Yeah.
just kind of like, it's a wonderful place, right? But I'm like, no. But you don't know Virginia. You know what I mean? Like, Virginia is like amazing. You want city, DC is 30 minutes away. You want like suburb, basically all of Northern Virginia is a big
Yeah.
suburb. You want corporate companies, you've got it. You want lakes, you want hikes, you want all that kind of stuff, you got it. You want entertainment, you want sports, you want all that stuff. You want great schools, you've got it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, Northern Virginia is one of those places that, to me, seems like it has a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
And you get bored of Virginia, you want to take off and just kind of, enjoy a different place for a little bit. New York is like,
4
5,
hours away,
6,
yeah.
4 hours away. You drive down there, you want to get to Florida, you're right down
Yeah.
there. And you pass by like North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, all like Alabama, all those places that you have access to. In like California, you'd have to like drive like something like what, 13 hours just to get out of the state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
when I tell them like, oh yeah, we had like breakfast in Virginia and then lunch in DC, they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, they're 30 minutes apart. Like, you know what I mean? It's not that big of a deal.
As a, you know what I say? I was born in Fairfax Hospital, so I'm Virginian forever. Like, I love, obviously, Virginia, a lot of pride. But I tell people, I'm like, yo, Virginia, we're first, bro. Like, we're the first Jamestown settlement. Like, we started all of this. Like, without Virginia,
There wouldn't
there's
be
nothing
any of
else.
this without us.
I was like, they tried to go to Roanoke. They failed, bro. Like, Roanoke, North Carolina was like
Yeah.
the first concept. They failed. They came to Virginia and ran it up, bro. And now you got America. So Virginia's the go.
It's like that Drake thing after they won the ring.
Oh,
after
with the Toronto?
Raptors.
Yeah.
You see all this? This wouldn't be here without us.
We created this. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna get you out of here, bro. I guess I'll get you out of here in the sellers. So that's what you tell the buyers. What do you tell the sellers? What are you telling your sellers?
To be quite honest, I don't deal with that many sellers yet.
You doing a lot of buy side?
I do a lot of buy side. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Quite frankly, I'm very heavy on the buy side in this point
Yeah.
of my career. Honestly, the sellers. I don't have anything good
that's
to
good.
tell you. To be honest, I'm not talking to that many sellers, so I don't want to like make anything up and just kind of.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm telling the sellers. I'm telling
Yeah.
my sellers because I have a lot of move up buyers who
Yeah.
are sellers and then buyers, after the fact. And, everyone's anticipating, I don't know if this is going to actually happen anymore, but everyone's anticipating that the rates are going to go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, okay, I have this interest rate, 3%. I want to move up, but now rates are 7%. It's a little expensive. And what I'm telling them is, and then obviously when rates go down to 5%, the market is going to increase. And so what I'm telling them is, look, it's better to sell now. You have to make your house cream of crop. You can't just put it on the market. You have to paint. You have to do the updates. Staging is so beneficial to you. So you have to stage, right? And we have to market and position this correctly. And then the buyers will come. You'll get over ask, all of those things, right? But let's just say you get the list price, right? It's better to sell, get the list price, move that to your next house where you're going to be for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Sure.
And if and when the market, goes up because rates go down and all the buyers move into the market, you're going to get the equity on that house. On the current asset that you live in. That you're going to hold for a long time instead of trying to get the equity on the asset that you currently live in. So it's better to sell now, move into the next spot, and then benefit from the appreciation.
Yeah, wow, I like that a lot.
So that's what I'm telling the sellers. So man,
really
thanks for
good.
joining me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of the homeowners that we deal with are just HELOCing it.
Yeah.
They're HELOCing it big time.
Yeah.
It's a big thing in our community, in the Egyptian community. Like, you don't sell. You know,
Oh,
it's
really?
like you just hold on to the property. They see the value of like holding on to the property and make it appreciate over time. They just are HELOCing and renting out their first property.
That makes sense, bro. Because my brother, dude, like he has a condo in Friendship Heights. I'm like, bro, this is not a good investment. You need to sell. And it like hasn't appreciated that much. He's like, why is it not a good investment? What are you saying? And and basically like, his argument to me is like, at some point, now he's rented it out. He's like, at some point, this will be paid off.
Yeah.
So it cannot be a bad investment. That's like his mentality. He's like, I'm like, this hasn't appreciated that much. Like the condo fee's getting higher. You can't even really like rent it out for more. And you've had it for, I don't know, like almost 15 years. Like, you should sell this and move it. And he's like, this will be paid off at some point. So there's no way it's a bad investment. And he's 8 years older than me. So sometimes he'd be like, feeling like he's my dad. You know what I mean? All right, man. Thanks for joining me, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, dude.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.